Hello, welcome to Smileys. Alas, no alcohol today. So I'm gonna cut to the chase. We're discussing chapters 13 and 14 of Forge of Darkness with Steven Erikson. If you haven't watched our summary episode, it was like 2 hours long, depressing, dour. We're gonna try to change the mood now. So, hello, Maura.
Are we going to? Yeah, hi Lee. Are we going to change the mood now?
I hope we are. I'm tired of feeling dour and down. Yeah, we don't have alcohol. That's probably why. So, if you've not read these chapters, they're a ride. I don't know why you're here if you haven't, but
no. If people have not read that chapter, I think they're quite smart. So,
I agree. I'm inclined to agree. Yeah. So, a rapid, quickly TLDR of chapter 13. Basically, Kadaspala finds a bunch of bodies, thinks a lot, and then basically the rest of the chapter is either Ivas thinking and / or dreaming, or Envy, Spite, and Malice destroying Dragon's Hold. And then 14 is what?
14 is...
Well, just summarize. Basically, the attack on Enna's house. And that's about it. And also Kadaspala thinking a lot more, again. Because,
and then finally going blind.
Oh, and then also Narad happens. But yeah, Narad's part of the... whatever. So yeah, but if you've read these chapters, you probably don't need us to explain exactly what they are. So without further ado, then let's get to our main protagonist, which is Kadaspala.
Easy, the main protagonist.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now I'm stirring the pot. So I think obviously, right? We know from the prologue that not the prologue. That's like pedestrian.
It's
the prelude. It's an epic poem. The prelude that there is no protagonist to the story because there are no singular tales, right? So Galan basically told you there will be no protagonist, but the closest thing we have to a protagonist, much like the Book of the Fallen has Tavor Paran, or I guess more accurately Fiddler.
Who's not a single character, and so on and so forth.
We're not getting into that. The point is, like, we have a lens character through which to view the story and its themes as they are explored. In the Book of the Fallen, for the most part, that is Fiddler, right? We spend a lot of time in his POV, exploring themes, viewing characters. In this book, it's Kadaspala. It's different because we know of Kadaspala from Toll the Hounds, and we know how his story ends. We don't know how Fiddler's story ends. I don't know how much different that would be.
Sort of.
Well, we do now, but we didn't at the start. Like when you read Garden to the Moon, he was just some nameless dude that came up like, by the way, the place is burning. Imagine how different the Book of the Fallen would be if you saw Fiddler fishing like 60 years old, and then like, I'm going to tell you the story of how all this all began, and then go through the entirety of Garden to the Moon. But that's not what he does. So they're different because we know how Kadaspala ends up. We know how his story must end up, but we don't know how it ends up there. So, needless to say, yeah.
That's one thing. Because this is Malazan, just because we saw Kadaspala being blind and unhinged and sort of lost it in Toll the Hounds, it doesn't really mean that that's what is going to happen in Forge of Darkness. Nothing has to track. That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't agree necessarily. I think...
See, there might be thematic continuity, but there need not be things like, details like him saying that he was killed by Draconis because he tried to steal the sword to attack Rake. I don't think that that's the type of story we're going to see. Have you seen that? We've not seen that, right?
No, not yet. We know that Kadaspala has to stay in like a cell beneath Gord Galen and Welcome Shadow, but
I'm going to bring this up each time we mention that. I feel that is a metaphorical jail. I don't think that
it could be.
Erikson meant it like, like an actual cell or something. I thought he meant that he caught hold of these two characters and with them he's going to build Walk in Shadow. That's the way I understood it when we spoke to him. So each time you say that, at least mentally I go, no, it's metaphorical. It's
okay.
Not real.
It's a metaphor for Dragnumber. But no, what I mean is you can't diverge too far from the, I'm going to go on a big limb, like 1,000 air quotes, the established mythos. Now, feel free to retch. like Kadaspala somehow eventually has to end up in Dragonbar, or at least blind.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like
So
true,
we know
yeah.
that has to happen eventually. We don't care about the deal. We don't know how or why or whatever. We don't know if like Rake kills him or if Draconus kills him or whoever kills him. But he has eventually to become blind, and something must happen to his sister or something of the sort for which he blames Rake. Or if not necessarily, but these things have to eventually transpire. Be it in this book or the next or the third. So with that aside, let's talk about why, in my opinion anyway, Kadaspala is the lens through which, God damn it, the lens through which Galan explores Horde of Darkness. So, do you have any thoughts on this matter before I go?
Yeah, I think you can just go because
So, do you recall? God damn it again! Do you recall our introduction to Kadaspala in Forge of Darkness?
When he's painting Urusander and being a total, I don't know, the best way to describe is being a bitch about it. He's like, I hate this, the light is falling and the candles are burning down and Mother Dark is stealing all the light and the whole thing.
Yep.
And then he shouts at Hunral, like, stop disturbing me and all that. Yeah, that's a fantastic scene. I remember that, yeah.
And
then they discuss over dinner. They talk about laws are a form of oppression. And Kadaspala is like, the modern man. He's atheist. Yeah. He believes in equality. He doesn't care about societal niceties. He has incestual thoughts, but he keeps it to himself. So, I don't know. He's transplanted from 2023 and put in Kuralgalin.
Yep. Right?
Yeah. So, something specific you wanted to ask me about that? About his first...
No. Just to get more specific, we have what themes does Kadaspala tackle through his arc from chapter 2 where he appears to here where he blinds himself. We brought up, painting and art, and how that makes him feel dark thoughts and stuff. His conversation with Urusander on like the nature of law and what laws are and how justice should be meted out. A lot of talk on faith, especially in the last two chapters, 13 and 14. Like a lot of talk on faith.
Sorry, before I forget, I think this is what I was trying to get. Kadaspala is woke. Can you say he's woke? Please go on. Sorry. Yeah. He's been thinking about gods. And are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm like Spinock here, trying to give a solid answer to a joke. I'm not sure. Maybe.
See, he believes in actual equality, and he actually goes and spends time with deniers. He knows their art, and he actually, like, I've not seen any other character talk about. They just look at like the ones who think of deniers as people. They just see them as people. He knows more than that. He tells all these things like they live in rye percipients and things like that. He has an in-depth understanding of the deniers as people and their art, and he's sad that it's all lost because they burnt down the huts. So he's woke.
I guess he is. So it's our closing statement on Kadaspala then, that he is woke, and it really contrasts very effectively against how fucked up Girl Ghislaine is, because Girl Ghislaine's like not woke. It's the definition of not woke. In a very screwed up sense, not even the sense of like not being cognizant of social inequity, because they're not, but also having it in
Except Hish, but that's still yet to come.
Oh yeah, I mean, certain individuals are definitely cognizant of the whole thing, but the whole class of highborn as a whole isn't. Right? Yeah. We brought this up on the summary about like how Ginny was forgotten. Like I know there's like a tragedy, but like Ginny, whatever. She's just a denier chick, whatever. Who cares? And yeah, we have Hish. We have here in Kadaspala. We have, to an extent, someone like Elgas Rend, who is a bit cognizant of the mess of misfortune and misfits among people. Who isn't exactly that train of thought doesn't lead to the best results. Since his result is like, we have to put them to good use. They're useful to society. We shouldn't outcast them. They're still useful. Hish, you brought up, yeah. But overall, on the whole, you're not going to have someone like Anamander go on and say, yeah, actually, I'm going to stand for the deniers. I'm going to make, I'm going to stand before them. I'm going to ask for forgiveness. It takes him, a full book before he gets to, actually goes to Narad and says, hi, I want help.
Oh, does he do that ultimately?
Yeah, in Fall of Light, when Kaladin eventually speaks him into it, when Kaladin imparts wisdom onto Anamander. But
all I remember about Rake is him just mucking around in the forest, roaming around, doing nothing.
Yeah. So, to conclude our talk on Kadaspala, because you know what? I like that word. Kadaspala is indeed woke. He is the woke lens through which to view Fort of Darkness.
You know why I like him a lot more? Because he's outright atheist. We don't have many people like that in Malazan, especially because they have actual gods. So when he says that first line that Kadaspala doesn't believe in gods, it's not that he doesn't believe in the existence of gods. He doesn't believe they're up to any good, right? Because he ultimately, what does he conclude in his monologue? What does he think about the god behind all gods?
Oh, that he's mad, right?
Yeah.
You want to talk about that? You want to get to that?
Why not? I'm sure you have something.
Yeah. So what you just said is not exactly atheism. It's a different term. It's the same thing, really. But when someone knows that gods exist, but they're not deserving of being worshipped, there's some certain word to describe them. Because atheism believes that. I don't remember what it is. It's something to do with it's some Greek rooted word. I don't remember now.
Obviously, it's going to be some Greek origin.
Yeah, but atheism posits that gods don't exist, or that you don't believe that gods exist. Kadaspala knows gods exist.
This is the closest we have, because in that universe, gods are already present. So.
Yeah, but what I mean is he's not worshipping them. Yeah, he's not worshipping them in spite of knowing that they exist, which is more courageous in a way, right? And also, Kadaspala basically resolves the problem of evil, which is if there exists some omniscient or all-powerful being that is also all good, why does evil exist? And his position is, no, evil exists because there is no good deity behind that's all-powerful. The god behind the god's mad, which is for a society that is so defined by their faith in Mother Dark to the point where they justify atrocities in her name. That is a very courageous assertion, and it takes. I don't know to what extent I agree with that, because obviously it's symbolic, right? There's no god behind the gods of color, not what he describes. He describes something more general than just a single deity.
I thought it's all colors are manifestations of one god, is the way he's seeing it.
Okay, so in theological philosophy, so not necessarily Christian theology, God can mean a lot of things. For some, the God is the universe. So I'm assuming that Kadaspala refers to a more generalized aspect of God, but the assertion that whatever it is mad is just, it's really profound in a way that you didn't expect from a guy who's just an artist riding a mule, going to see his sister who he loves get married. It's just
being offered up to being sullied, not married.
It's just, it's the smallest things that get pushed into the narrative in these books, because you have Mandy.
This type of thoughts, as you say, from some small time young artist who has all these other things to do, you're so impressed with it, right? But this is the type of things we usually hear criticism about. But how can this fellow have all these deep thoughts? And especially Grip Galas, and think people like Kalaras. Even all the named POV characters, they're actually smart, and I enjoy it. I don't know why people have a problem with, how can these foot soldiers have these deep thoughts, and how can this, poor people think all these things and all that. It's Teist level classism, right?
Well, the most obvious answer is it's not them thinking, it's Galan putting thoughts into their minds.
No, I'm not just talking about Karkanas, even with Book of the Fallen.
Yeah, but
It's like a common.
Yeah, discounting such individuals for not being able to articulate what they mean is very, iffy.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing stopping them from... Because, for instance, I don't have the technical vocab for a lot of things, but everyone, at some point in their lives, everybody, will ponder such big questions. You may not be able to posit it in, like, the most articulate of words, the stuff that, like, treatises are made of, but you're still going to ponder it and reach some sort of conclusion. And then you have an in-world author, be it Cameron Salt or Galan or something, that just takes that thought and then articulates it better. So why wouldn't they have these thoughts? I'm particularly impressed with it in Garcanos, especially because in Garcanos takes center stage. In the Book of the Fallen, it's like somewhat in the background until like the later back of the series, like book 8, book 9, book 10. Here, it is the meat of the series. These little thoughts, these nuggets of like monologues, are the meat of the series, and that's just really impressive to me.
And do you know how that affects us as a podcast? With our structure of summarizing and discussing, we can't skip any damn thing. we are ending up, summarizing like every single thought these people have, because each one feels, first of all, it's written so well, and then we don't feel like skipping anything, and then everything adds to the ultimate theme, right? There's no like fluff that we can just. Yeah.
I feel like I need to remind that in the last episode, in chapter 13, there is like one paragraph in which Ivis basically describes the, what I call the tyranny of the discontinuous mind, which is a Tolkien's term, which is, the Geist's inherent desire to categorize everything. That's one paragraph. It's a philosophical idea upon which like tomes have been written, and he just like summarizes it like one paragraph, because okay, we can draw moats anywhere we like, but nature's just gonna spit on those moats anyway and just walk over. Who cares?
Since that thing came up, there have been a lot of bridges in the story. Have you paid attention?
Yeah.
A lot of bridge imagery has been coming up, and in chapter 15 it continues.
Even like in chapter 1, with Draconis gifting the highborn bridge.
Yeah. And
to bridge the divide between them.
It's like a huge...
Yeah,
isn't it?
I mean, it's like Steve is good at writing. Who knows? But yeah, it's these images that you can't skip.
The list of like themes which he prepared first before he started writing. There must be a list, right?
I feel like there should be, but I'm not sure. That's one of the question I wanted to ask. Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, do you come up with the ideas beforehand for a chapter? Because, like, in the epigraphs, right, when he wrote epigraphs for chapters, he had to circle back when he wrote them first. So does he start off with some idea that he's going to open the chapter with and then circle back at the end? Or does it come naturally? Like, just starts writing and like, oh yeah, maybe I should bring this up, and then I have to find some way to tie it back in. I don't know.
Book of the Fallen, it has an epigraph and it's kind of distinct. I'm thinking about Karkanas because it sort of everything sort of starts blending together, right? There's no plot, distractions here. So it's just completely theme. So I'm just wondering, he must have thought, right? I'm going to touch upon God.
I hope he does. If he doesn't, I have no idea how he managed this.
Yeah.
But anyway, shall we move on from Kadaspala? Because there's a lot more to say.
Who's your next friend?
Oh boy. This opens up a big can of worms that's going to be tackled upon more in the next chapter, next week, which is generally the classism present in Coeur d'Alene and the hostage system and highborn versus lowborn and everything. But I'm going to take a very narrow view on this. And
of Orphantel?
Orphantel is another one, which I have not actually thought much about. He's not really on this chapter, so I'm not going to talk about it as much. But the one I want to talk about is Sandalath, who also appears quite a bit and is like massively bored, and the other is Krill. Right? And in particular, what I want to tackle is the alienation that hostage feels from their family, right? Because of political gain. We learned in earlier chapters with Orphantel and Sukul that only houses of like equal level, of equal standing, can exchange hostages between them. Everyone else like a guest of some sort.
Yeah.
That being a hostage is supposed to be like a great honor, and they're sacrosanct and prescribed, and all of that. Like, and if a hostage were to die, like Sandalaf, for instance, then whoever took on the responsibility of hosting a hostage, say that alliteration, would be, destroyed both literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
And they ponder that if Sandalaf dies, not even like Mother Dark could save Draconis.
Yeah.
That he needs her, but whatever. And there's a very distinct line from Krill, beyond the obvious of running away from his problems, because the person he's growing up alongside is getting married and he can't come to terms with his feelings. But say that nothing happened, just they got wedded. Andrist and Anesthea got wedded, and they moved on with life. What next for Krill Durav? Where does he go next?
He thinks he might join Skara. He might join Spinak.
Because
and
what else is there for the Duravs?
And also here, I think Jane mentions that he's the second born or the last born or something. He's low down in the inheritance or something. So there is not much scope for him.
Most their house is on the decline. Family, they're not just on the decline. They're basically destroyed at the wars. They are so far down in the decline where like a minor house like the Hend may actually take over the leadership of the Durav. Beyond Spinnock, we don't have another named Durav character. We have Farrer, who's a Hend.
Yeah.
And that's it, more or less. Spinnock's like what, 20, 18, 19? Young, really young.
The same thing. Young, yeah. Krill is also the same age, right? He's 19.
Yeah. And that's all we have. So where to for young Krill? Does he go, where will he find a place to be? And the obvious question is, did anyone even consider this when they gave him away as a hostage?
But that's the thing everyone is going through, right? Everyone has a hostage system. It's in place. And they've been dealing with it forever. So, right?
So even if a child is deprived of their own childhood because they don't belong anywhere, that's fine.
I'm not saying it's right.
Is that a squirrel? No, that's what I'm asking. Like, yeah, no, I'm not.
Can I just tell you about the Game of Thrones hostage system, which is, I think, more historically accurate hostages in that universe? It's usually because some house gets defeated, and then the winning house takes a child or two, so that the losers behave. That's the whole deal. But they do have to keep the hostage safe. But it doesn't mean that if I don't know if it's as big a deal as it's made here in Kural Galen, that if the hostage dies, then it's all out war. I don't know if that is the case, but the whole idea is hostage is taken as a sign of submission, just like the Jelek hostages, because it was part of negotiation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the Jelek lost, they had to give up hostages. That's the usual way. But here, I don't know. It's all like Sandalad can sit at the head of the table because Draconis is not there and his daughters are still not of age and things like that. I don't know.
Now, here in Kural Galen, it's basically a bargaining chip. They're used for political reasons exclusively, right? Because the Durav is a house of soldiers. Yes, go on.
But isn't that a good thing? Now, because Durav was a hostage here, now he has connections. You just accept it. It's a society full of nepotism. So because Anesthea is his childhood friend, and she's also having plans of getting him a cushy job inside the Citadel and all that. So the hostage system does help these guys, right?
What does Krill think of that? There is a monologue. There is a monologue about this exact thing.
What does he think?
That he is not going to end up on some, that being on some honor guard or in the Citadel sickens him because he is a soldier at heart. And so he's going to join Skara because that's where he belongs, right? Not in some cushy, as you mentioned, some cushy, cozy posting. Like Ganos, for instance, which finds it's the exact opposite of Ganos Faran. I want to find some fish with and then we'll be fine. No, it alienates people and it's just accepted as a thing. I'm not going to say that you're wrong for defending it. But this line of reasoning of it's been there for so long and it might actually help people is exactly what these people are using, like Coral Galen is using to not actually overthrow the system.
So,
and therein lies the problem.
Replacement? If they have to stop giving hostages, what is your alternate solution to maintain peace?
Maintain. Do you need to trade children to maintain trust?
They're used to
is Coral Galen a society that is so low on trust that the only way to maintain one's word is to give away their own children?
You can't shame them into
political gain.
You realize that?
I can't shame them into being honorable, but god damn it, they should be. If this is the best thing they could come up with.
Yeah. You need to find a better solution. See, always, any sort of oppression, any sort of big systemic changes, it has to happen not with a blaming mentality. It has to happen with the system is at fault, let's find a solution. It can't be like, you guys are being dishonorable, you guys are idiots for trading children and doing this. It's not going to help. If you need change, you need to all work on the same page that let's not use children. Let's do something else. Is there something else? Let's create economy. Let's create banks and let's all have a central unionized government and let's all listen to one autocrat who will decide all these things. Something. You need a system to replace what the existing status quo is. Nobody can be shamed into changing stuff. Sorry.
What? Why are you sorry? What?
No, because yeah, I don't know. I thought I interrupted you.
No. I mean, I agree, but that does not take away from the fact that the system stinks. Lacking a proper replacement does not excuse the fact that the system exists and it is being held up by the status quo because people have just accepted that it does exist, and no one is looking for alternatives. The alternative is be an adult. Act as you otherwise would.
It's not. No, okay. I'll let me just talk about the example which I see here every day. Okay, How do we defeat casteism? Is there a solution? All we are doing is trying to help some weaker parts of the society at the cost of not helping people at the top of the society and things like that. There are things being done, but it doesn't abolish caste. Whatever steps which is being done here is to maintain this casteism because it's politically extremely beneficial. All voting happens according to caste lines. So that is the status quo. And you can't if you want to change that, nobody can go around and say, why are you guys behaving like this? That is not the way to bring change. It has to work as a system. This system is not helping you, not helping them, not helping anyone. All your children are going to suffer. So the best thing you can do is work towards this goal through these steps. That's the only way any systematic change can be done. It can't be you privileged asses are not helping your underprivileged ones and you underprivileged ones are not being resistant enough to go and take what you want. That you can't. That my same thought. You can't shame people into changing stuff.
Not sure if I agree entirely. I agree with just.
It's never worked.
Yeah, because what you're okay, let me put it another way.
Yeah.
The onus of the burden or the onus of change should not fall upon those who don't have power to actually make change. If I'm just an innocent bystander, if I'm just some hostage dude, 12 years old, and I get traded, it should not fall on me to say, guys, actually, I have a better solution. No. I can offer up solutions, right? I can offer up as many as you want, okay? Maybe. Hypothetically. But it still falls on those people that have put the system in place to actually bother changing it. That.
Yes, but.
Or I or whoever hypothetically, the Legion, use the force of arms to actually achieve said goal. That's called a revolution. I'm not going to get into the ethics of whether or not that's a good thing or not, but the point is the onus should not fall on individuals to propose changes and then see those changes through.
No, all
highlighting the problem. Yeah, okay.
After a point when these things are so ingrained in a society, After a point, everybody is a victim of the system.
Yes.
That's what we need to realize. You can't say just because they are the greater houses are the ones trading these hostages, they are the beneficiaries of the system. They are also
They
the
are.
victims. No, because what
Yeah.
other hope do they have? If they stop taking hostages, they lose everything. No matter how privileged someone is, if that is the alternative they're facing, why would they bother changing anything?
I think this
Why?
is like the thesis that Kirkanos is offering up, that when a society gets complacent with, oh, we have nothing else, woe to us, and we're not going to seek change because we're all victims of the system. No, you put the system in place. You are directly benefit. Like, that's what Hish thinks later, no? The next chapter, the very next chapter, this is what Hish is thinking.
Yeah, but
That no
ultimately
one is
she ends
cognizant of the
with
problem. Yeah?
she can see the problem clearly. She herself as a highborn
And she feels
who
helpless.
has all,
But
she
bullshit!
feels
I'm sorry,
helpless.
it's bullshit!
No.
People, no.
I think
If people with money and privilege and influence think that the only goddamn way that they can get things done is by dressing up as a bat and going and beating people shitless in the streets, there's something wrong with them, not with the system. I don't know why I brought Batman into this, but the point stands.
no, the point is when they have no other alternative because they grow up within the system. They are not
I'm
outsiders who have come and
absolutely certain that if I actually put their thoughts into it, they could find an alternative.
they
And
could,
that alternative, but they don't.
they're
That's
as
the
helpless
problem.
as Hish. Okay, I think we've deviated a lot away from Karkanas. Should we
Presumably.
come back?
But like that's exactly the problem, right? That, like
Yeah.
there is no obvious solution to get out of this, and Mother Dark has put the onus on the Dice to find the goddamn solution for themselves. This brings me to another point which I wanted to make in general is Mother Dark, and more so Ysander a bit later, don't envision a society where they're needed.
Yeah.
One of the big problems throughout history of, great empires and great statesmen and great men, emperors, women, kings, queens, empresses, whatever,
Yeah, go
has
on.
been
Yeah.
that they cannot look further past their own deaths. That their realm starts and ends with them. Their reforms are not set in place to facilitate the future. There's very, very few individuals that have managed to look past their own lives and look to the future. One of them was actually Sun Yat-sen, I don't remember the name, the father of China.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Another potentially sort of kind of was Kemal, the father of Turkey. Many, many others have failed throughout history. And those are just like for the 20th century. If you go further back, there's pretty much nobody. Because pretty much it's very difficult for someone in power to look past their own failures and think, not how can this benefit me, and look further. Like, how can I ensure that this stays in power to benefit others or the maximum amount of people in the future? And Mother Dark's solution to this is, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Figure out what works by thinking, by not joining arms, by not fighting one another. Sit down like adults and think. Who is the system benefiting? Who is this helping? Nobody. If we turn on the deniers, if we turn on the downtrodden, on the poor, to disabuse the privileged few of their wealth, then what are we achieving? Nothing. We just destroy an entire class of people as scapegoats, and nothing is done. The problem that a lot of Ysander's arc has to deal with is, okay, that's great, but how do I make sure that what I say doesn't get corrupted in time? How do I end up having a set of rules, a set of laws, a set of civil conduct that does not end up being morphed, being skewed by ambitious men like Unral? And the short answer is that he can't.
Which other god did we see having the same kind of conflict?
Kovian?
Not a god exactly. Huh? Sorry?
Kovian? No?
Salin basically. Not it.
Yeah. I mean, every god worth their salt is
There's
like
a
that.
reason why this whole Redeemer thing happens in Toll the Hounds as opposed to any other book.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so...
Oh God, these are such good books. I'm so happy I'm reading all this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, when it dawns on you, like, God damn, these books are really good. Yeah. To continue my train of thought.
Yeah, sorry.
This is what the Theist can't see. And this is what both the Legion, on the one hand, who are fighting for their own, because of spite, because of their own slights.
Grievances, yeah.
Grievances, whatever. Like, look at Sagander, right? Who thinks, okay, another slight, 1,000 slights for
just
whatever. Like, people just don't look at him.
Right,
right? Yeah. Like, and these things compound upon one another. And why? Because the societal structure facilitates such things. But again, I'm going to save this for the next episode, because especially in chapter 15, which we brought up quite a few times already, has a lot of this. But the point here is that the class structure of Cold Glen is flawed, and no one seems to be willing to actually make the first step to change it. And that is what Galan is trying to warn against with this chapter. It is the culmination, the most obvious way in which to bring about it. Like, this is the length of depravity that these people will get to in order to maintain or wrest away power from one another. Power, which is a notion that Galan has already torn down through Henrold. Yeah. It's meaningless. It doesn't matter. You can take it, you can hoard it, but what are you going to do with it? Without other characteristics, which Howard and Corey are exploring: love, trust, and a whole bunch of other things.
Stuff. Yeah.
The intangible stuff, power and wealth and all of that don't matter. The material world is not as important, provided you don't have characteristics befitting. I lost my train of thought because I lost the technical vocab. God damn it. What I mean, to include the plants, so more I can speak. Yeah, Cruel Glen sucks because they lack compassion, right? Because that's the point. Like, they don't have compassion, they don't have love for one another, they don't have trust for one another, as we just saw from the hostage system, and the place fucking sucks, certainly, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, I wouldn't go there. One by two wouldn't recommend.
No.
Unless you
maybe once across the Rill, maybe once in Kirkanas, but like 3 days, no more than that.
3 days? Would you spend 3 days in Kirkanas doing what?
3 days? Not in Kirkanas, but like in Coral Glen in general. I don't know, maybe like
I would probably take a boat ride. Not more than that.
Yeah.
I don't want more than that.
Probably.
I would rather just meet the people. Like, I mean, wouldn't you want to see Spinach? What's the big deal about Spinach, don't you?
I guess I would, yeah. Guilty as charged. But he's a bit too winning for my taste. Anyway,
Oh God! So you've been missing Caplo and Resh, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they're fun.
Are they coming back in this book?
Yeah, I think so. I'm fairly sure.
So. For your sake, I hope so.
Thank you. But yeah, so to move on from this, do you have anything you want to bring up?
I think nobody would be listening to chapter 13 and 14 without getting to the
bad parts.
Yeah. And maybe that's why we've been delaying talking about classism and hostages and all sorts of stuff, because we don't want to get into this. Though, one more thought. I was just thinking, Steam could have just split Forge of Darkness into different storylines, right? Because Book of the Fallen had the structure of Book 1, Xenobakis, Book 2, 7 Cities and things like that. Here we could have had Azathanai lands, jagged people, and the actual politics at Karkanas. It could have all been split into different books. I think it would have still worked. Because, I mean, we finished this and we started chapter 14 or 16, I don't know. And all of a sudden we are with Korea and, it's all the fun stuff going on there. And here it's all these people bickering and fighting over land and fighting over who salutes whom and stuff like that. And then we have Hout just disregarding everything and saying, He's Captain Hout. I would have liked, to have more division between these storylines. I don't know. No?
You want my answer to that?
Yeah.
So, I think the fact that they're not divided is what makes Kurkana special. It's what makes Kurkana stick. Because, as we've said from like the prelude, right, that this is not a character-driven story. This is not about the plot.
No.
It's about the themes.
No, this is just my preference. I don't care if I'm wrong. Yeah.
You don't hear you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying like it would be radically different. You would need to restructure the book. It would work. Like the plot lines are strong enough on their own to work.
Maybe just Erickson wrote the whole thing and then decided that he would add a prelude and say, "Oh, I'm not going to split it because this is what I'm trying to do here." And I don't know. So anyway, fine.
But what I mean is you could do that, and I think more than a few people have asked for jagged sword stories. Yeah, fine. Don't discuss.
No, I agree that the theme is what what drives this, and so it makes sense. But actually speaking, it's like completely different plots, and Draconis is basically the only thing which is like connecting the two. So, but that's okay. I'll take it. It's fine. So, do you have anything about Narad which we haven't read in the book so far?
Man has doubts, which counts for something.
Who has doubts? Narad has doubts.
The quote about self-respect, which we brought up.
It's like this whole chapter and all this, it hides so much in plain view. Like, it's unbelievable the things I picked up on this read. All this, they wear all these denier clothes and just leave the dead bodies there, and it's so easy to manipulate all these events, right? So good. So anyway, I really don't have anything insightful to add there about Narad's story because it's still ongoing, and I don't remember much because he's still quite important even in Fall of Light. All I know is this Anestia presence sort of comes back and haunts him or something, or guides him, or he starts worshipping her or something. There is some connection there. So, do you remember and you don't want to clarify now, or shall we wrap up?
The few things I do remember is that Narad becomes the Watch, the Yedan of the Deniers from Glyph.
Yedan without the
Glyph
jaw.
is a character. Glyph is a guy. Glyph is
Oh, you suddenly became all excited.
Glyph is the Karsa equivalent of the of Girl Ghislaine. He is the fist of Denier Vengeance. He's cool. I'm not sure. He's like interesting.
There is a lot of fancy imagery about fishing and no fish in the lake, and oh god, I that's all I remember in Fall of Light. Right? Narad has all these dreams and visions
I have no goddamn clue. I'm telling you right now. I do not remember.
But there are no fish, and then there is no water, and then Anestia walks with him on the shore, and the shore keeps coming up. You know what? I think we should just shut up and go.
Yeah, we should probably wrap up. But
Fall of Light.
Homie has doubts, and his doubts are eventually personified in Anestia. Okay. This specter, this apparition, is telling me about things about I shouldn't know about. He was a lover of men once, but those memories are not his own. He pledges the Deniers. I don't remember what even they're called at this point. I think we're just going to use Deniers as an umbrella term.
Sure.
To her, to Anamander, to her. The her he means is Anestia, but the her Anamander understand it's Mother Dark, right?
Oh, okay.
And there's that conflict of who are we siding with? Are we siding with a guy who who in the name of the goddess we're persecuted and we don't believe in her, or are we siding with Anestia, who no one else can see except for Narad? And then Finara Stone becomes Twilight, and then it's a whole bunch of tricky bullshit I don't remember, nor understand.
Don't worry, we'll figure out the whole thing when we read it. Yeah.
And
2-3 months away.
Narad could be. Oh god damn it! Sorry. And Narad could be Edgewalker, but I don't really subscribe to that theory, so we're going to leave that can of worms unopened, set aside for like a year from now or so, and yeah. So, in these chapters, boy, he is tough, right? He's hard. Rather, he's not hard. That's the problem.
Oh because, God, no.
Yeah,
no.
He gets a lot of derision for that. Obviously, it's like a bit taboo, but am I looking too deep into this? Maybe I am, but
go on, spit it out. What is it?
No, it's like not even him not getting like hard, but being derived for like he gets him like he gets like waft or something, right? He can't get it on for shit.
He shits his pants, yeah.
He shits his pants. His like dick gets like really shrunk because the water is cold and he can't get it on.
Yeah. It's an old Seinfeld joke. I don't know. It's not a big deal.
His doubts, like how Anomander's defiance is personified, like Narad, like understands. He knows that what he's doing is wrong, but he can't articulate it. He can't say it out loud. Just like Mandy can say, "Go to mother." Like, no, I'm not doing this for you. I'm like, you're not my mother. I guess he does say that eventually, but he still acts, right? And so does Narad. And they go about things very differently, but at the core is the same thing. They have doubts, both of them, about the things they're doing for different reasons. Narad understands what he's doing is wrong, and that's why he pleads forgiveness. Whether forgiveness is coming is, I'm fairly sure Steve said that, like, Narad is meant to be this character he toys around with on the notion of redemption, because, like, for him, redemption will never come or some stuff. That's what he said. That's what I remember hearing. That's what I've been told. I don't remember enough to make a comment on this, but the most important thing, I think, for Narad in this chapter particularly, is the notion of the death of beauty. Because in this chapter with Kadaspala, in chapter 9 with Mother Dark, with Narad, etc., we have had a lot of talk about beauty, right? Beauty, love. How does one paint love?
Yeah.
And the symbolism I want to talk about a bit here is that essentially this is Galan bitching. Okay, I'm going to put it bluntly. This is Galan bitching. Because in war, in such brutal atrocities, the first people who are killed, the first casualties of the war, are beauty, art, artists, sculptists, painters, historians, poets. I don't know the word.
Sculptors.
People who make sculptures, sure, whatever. People who make sculptures, the masons,
yes,
whatever.
That's correct. Yeah.
I guess that's an I. Yeah, these individuals are like the first casualties of war. And in war, as Rancid told us, and as we saw here, they have to be treated differently. People are dehumanized, or I guess dehumanized. I'm not going to use like the diced derivative of that word.
What is the de-diced?
De-diced. I don't know. I'm not going to make the word up now. Just I have the train of thought. I need to continue. And this is his way to rail against that. That beauty died in his arms. That Kadaspala walks in to what he has deified, right? Because beauty, Anesia's beauty, is something transcendental for him, and he sees it dead. He sees in her dark, dead eyes of, holy shit, reality is erased for me. I can't go on. Like, he tries to paint the whole thing, his fingers twitching, but all his fingers do is just rip his own eyes out. And in that sense, the death of Anestia is Kadaspala's failure. It's the culmination of Kadaspala's arc through, and his reaction to it is failure. Grison points this out next chapter, but we'll get to that in the next chapter. But what fascinates me about this, particularly in regards to Kadaspala, is how in chapter 13, in the beginning, he says that like he will, give this picture of the dead denier child to anyone who says that you're going to bring justice or peace or change or whatever by the use of violence. And here, he simply turns his back on that. In darkness there is peace. We can go on with our way. We can do things. We can get things done. Yeah. We can get on with things. He embraces darkness. He does not fight it. And there is so much fucking more to say on this, but it is not pertinent to this chapter right now. So I'm going to save it for a later date. But obviously, it's going to track back to Draconis and Mother Dark and how people treat them. But we'll save that because that's a long discussion for later. God, is there anything more we can talk about in this chapter?
I wanted to add something more about like the classism in
please do.
It's because we come from Book of the Fallen, and that world is, sort of egalitarian, at least, There are few exceptions. There is like the Daru and some of the Bargas are not nice people. But overall, the structure...
Everything to do with leather.
Not extremely patriarchal or anything, but the economic inequality. But the Diced is like the things which we see, it's much more obvious, I feel. It's classism which is just ingrained. There's no hopes at all. And it's all like, it's a single people, right? It's not even like the Leathery Edur capturing them as slaves or anything like that. The Teblor being enslaved by this other race or nothing like that. It's just Diced against Diced. So you are lesser house, I am greater house. You are denier because you live in the forest. It's like that. And are the denier the same race? Are we sure about that? Because we hear that their skin is the color of whatever ground they're squatting on, and their eyes are the color of streams and bogs. Are the Diced people have a different eye color and skin color and all? I don't know. Do we know?
They're definitely Diced. They just don't. They have They've isolated themselves from the gene pool, so to speak.
So maybe
because Rancept says that they have Dogger in their blood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So because they live in the forest and away from the other Diced, the civilized Diced, the believers,
Diced. Yeah.
The city dwellers, they've isolated themselves from the gene pool and they've diverged away from them after years of not mixing with one another. So that's my take on it. I don't know. Maybe they're different. Who knows?
No, maybe that's why they're not pure blood or anything, and so that's why they're not even Diced. So we are justified in killing them. God damn it! Go on.
Sorry.
Yeah. So. Yeah, anyway, but it's quite jarring, and the same way Book of the Fallen doesn't like spell it out to you that everybody is, at least in the main Malazan places, everybody is equal and everything is, anyone can join the army, anyone can topple an empire and become the empress. All this can happen. Whereas in Karkanas, it's again, not spelled out, but it's all there, right? Arranged marriages exist, political marriages exist, people are slut-shamed, bastards are not accepted, all those things. It's not spelled out, but it's as you read, you sort of start realizing that. I wish I had known all these things before my first read. I wish I had known. I wish I had not thought about Malazan when I was reading this, because I was expecting a sort of society like that here, and it's the opposite.
There is a very romanticized notion of the Diced, especially the Andy in the Book of the Fallen, from a reader's perspective, because we like Anamander. Because Anamander is cool, he turns into a dragon, has a cool fuck off sword, he's compassion, and all of that shit. No, not here.
Oh, I think you missed out his biggest selling point in Book of the Fallen.
Is it that he lays a dragon?
No.
Is it his big sword? Is that it?
No. But it's something you never... No. It's something else. You never stop bringing up that, he bangs a dragon. He has a dragon girlfriend and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That. Yeah.
So, we have, because of Anamander, we have a very romanticized notion of the Diced. But one thing I want to touch upon before we, move on is, since we've been reading Toll the Hound, at some point...
Generously.
Okay. Since the sub has been doing a read-along on Toll the Hound, there is a quote from Spinnock about how the Andy would always sacrifice themselves for others and take on their burdens, but not allow others to do the same. And in the Book of the Fallen, that's vaguely treated as a good thing. And then Galaga's no. No, none of that is good. Stop that.
No, I thought the interpretation in Book of the Fallen was that because they don't have a god and they don't have any like goal in life, all they do is help people. So that's why I saw it. Why to say it's a bad thing?
Okay, so the context is like Spinnock being hopelessly in love and hopelessly drunk, speaking with Sir Darwin, who's hopelessly drunk and hopelessly mad. And basically, Spinnock brings up Itkovian and says, like, okay, maybe, I wonder if we came first. It's like, no, we didn't. No. What Itkovian did wasn't necessarily like a good thing. It wasn't like necessarily the right thing. It's just, he didn't think about it. He didn't like give it much thought. He had his own impulse, which is incredibly courageous and incredibly like good, but it's not a way to run a faith. It's not a way to run a society, a place, anything. Take from him the good things, not all the things, and stop like pushing yourself to make greater acts of compassion, because that's their road to self-destruction, as Itkovian showed. There is a price. It's his own life. That's what the Redeemer is trying to rectify here. But no, actually, compassion isn't entirely priceless. It's not just only be given in abundance.
I think we should differentiate between compassion and redemption, because.
Oh, for sure. But I mean,
yeah.
Think on the irony of him saying compassion is priceless and then dying because he gave away too much compassion. That's, I think, what Steve was trying to rectify in Toll the Hound. But I'm getting off track. What I mean is that romanticized notion that Kaminsod is trying to push on you because he basically benefited the most from it and exalted it as a virtue.
Yeah.
Galan does not share. Galan doesn't care. Galan doesn't think it's a good thing. Hunral, I'm not going to show compassion to fucking Hunral or Infayan or the Legion soldiers that killed these people. No, fuck them. These people are not deserving of compassion because they're awful. All of them. Sagander is awful. Hillith is awful. A lot of the Thais are awful. And giving them boundless compassion is only going to lead to further ruin because no one is affecting change adequately. Because taking up arms and saying, oh, the poor deniers, I'm going to be the one that saves them because it's the right thing to... No. No. Make yourselves better first. By making yourself better, you are going to influence their society. By being a white knight with shining armor on a horse, or a gelding, because it's so sick. Being a white knight on a horse, riding to a damsel in distress. No, that's not going to fix the deniers. That's not going to improve their situation. Being compassionate does not fix shit. It's action that you need, but adequate action, and not swords and a mander.
Do you have one?
Yeah. No, I don't actually.
Sorry.
And so to end that rant, we came into Kurulgalane and Karakanas with a very romanticized view of the dice that Galan systematically tears down before you, and sometimes I can leave you a bit alienated because I thought this was a good thing. No, this is Galan, buddy. You don't get such things. So, and Narad is another way to explore this. Yeah.
Kadaspala, when does he turn Andy? Does he turn Andy? Does he beat Mother?
Great question. I don't think so. I don't think he turns Andy in this book.
Not in this book. So in Fall of Light?
I don't know. He doesn't appear in Fall of Light, I don't think.
See? But in Toll the Hounds, it's very clear that it's an Andy with no eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I've been wondering, when did he turn Andy? So anyway, maybe her power just took everyone.
Except
or maybe
Silkas
is... Except?
Silkas Ruin.
Silkas. We already know it's an enzyme deficiency, so...
Right.
Even Mother Duck can't produce enzymes.
I guess not. Okay, well, we've gone on for about an hour now, and I think we need to wrap up because...
Sure.
Yeah, so... but before we do you have anything else to add? Anything from the chapter that impressed you, or any quotes you have to add, or anything like that?
I didn't come prepared for all these things. I have quotes, but I didn't note them down. I've not opened my tablet. Keep talking. I'll open it now.
So I brought up earlier that Ibis just like philosophizes on metaphysics and the tyranny of its continuous mind, and how Kadaspala solves the problem of evil by concluding that God is mad. And it's how those little things, like the meat of Kirkanis, is just so fucking impressive to me. And then Mora went on to bring up how like they have denier clothing and they leave the bodies there to have plausible deniability, because the Legion would never do such things, because the Legion is professional. There are no rapes, no torture, none of that. Yeah. This is all denier shit. They wouldn't do that.
And except for the bodies.
Yep.
They leave the bodies right there, yeah.
Except for when who was like I think it was Finara? No. Yes? No? Yeah. With Finara, that brings up that like during the darker days of the Legion they had discovered the effects of torture. So maybe the Legions do torture people.
But the way Reese tells about torture, so maybe it's just
Okay, Reese is obviously bantering, right? Like but
poor Reese, he had one dad joke and nobody laughed at it, and then he died. Poor fellow.
Poor guy. Yeah.
Nobody remembers the the low class people. It sucks. I think even Galan is a classist. Do you dispute this?
Ooh, actually,
What?
Don't know.
He can't be. I mean, he's written all these whole big stories to take a stand against classism. I don't think we can call him a... Oh, all my notes are with chapter 15. So right now, it's just,
So why
Yeah.
I think it depends on how you view things, because my personal biases towards this one way or the other color my perception of what Galan is saying. But unlike someone like Amundsen,
I really don't have notes for chapter 14 in my Kindle app. No
worries.
I've been so caught up in the story and trying to focus on not crying too much. I have not taken notes. I just read it, summarized it, and finished it. Yeah.
So, to conclude then, is Galan a classist? We already said that Kadaspala is woke, but is Galan classist? Important question.
I think he's unaware.
I think it depends on your interpretation and personal biases, because on some level, someone like Kaminsod would probably decry and detest the vengeance that comes from the deniers later, when the deniers take up arms and start killing Legion soldiers and taking their scalps and shit. Bad things happen to Gorilla Galen, but Galan doesn't seem to take a stance on the issue. Nor is he particularly pro or anti-highborn. A lot of his heroes, shall we say, aren't actually highborn. Like you have Bandy, who's just a bit of an idiot. He throws tantrums. He's a bit of a man-child. But others like Rennick, right, who are much more geared towards he's a denier child. Yeah.
So don't you feel it's a little unbalanced? Like it's not in proper proportion? Because Book of the Fallen had much more weightage to the people on the ground as opposed to the higher ups. Here it's the other way, right? For every highborn, every 3 highborn, you have one lowborn who has a POV. That's what I think. And if that's true, then you can call Galan a classist. Can we add this question in the episode description? That do you think blind Galan is
sure.
not blind about classes?
Ooh, okay then. Okay, so the last thing I want to add, since we're talking about classism, and I'm going to close the episode this way, is there is this very intense desire for people to be nobles, to the point where someone, like the commoner's hero, like Vathauer Sander, is being propped up as a nobleborn. Honral in chapter 2 has spread propaganda that the Vatha house would always own Narad, and he's clearly a highborn, because this is just how the society functions. Fuck this place. So, on those happy notions of Kadaspala being woke, Galan possibly being classist, and Gorilla being awful.
Yeah.
I think we can close here.
Sure.
So,
good night. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time, Lee.
Thank you, Amora. We'll see you next time. Good night.
Oh, yeah. Next time is Catharsis. Don't miss chapter 15.
Next time is awesome. Like, actually good. Unlike the depressing that this is.
It's still depressing, but it's cathartic. Bye.
Bye.